Thank you for tuning in to Save Our Streets TV. I am your host today, William Rivas, founder of Save Our Streets Incorporated. Today we are here with our guest, Julia J. Banks, the founder and owner of She's Awaken. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. So we were just recently having a conversation. It's always one of those things that's interesting when you're talking to somebody about their passion, their vision. And one of the things I had already made a mistake on just that quick was I said it's She's Awakened, not She's Awakened. So why don't you talk to us about that? What's the difference and why did you name it She's Awakened?
Okay, well, in the beginning it was She's Awakened with the ED at the end, but it didn't set right with me. And I know She's Awakened with the ED is grammatically correct. However, to me it felt like it spoke more of the past and not so much of the woman being in the process of. And then someone said, well, why don't you put the ing at the end? But that didn't set right either. So the more I thought about it, yes, without the ed or the ing at the end, it may be grammatically incorrect. However, a lot of the things that we go through as women don't fit into what society would say is correct. You know, we're always evolving into that woman that is awakened, and we become awakened in so many different areas of our life. So I wanted to leave it that way. You know, and one thing, if it doesn't do anything else, it stirs up conversation, because Absolutely. I have people reaching out to me asking me, why did you do that? Someone said, well, that's incorrect. You know, someone else told me, I was doing research on this all night and I realized that, you know, so it got them talking and thinking. But, you know, as women, we're always evolving.
Well, no, and that's absolutely amazing that even in a name that you would see that and understand that and make it so it wasn't structured based on what anybody else had to say. Right. I'm interested in having the opportunity to sit down and speak with you on different occasions and engage with you and see you in the community doing the things that you're doing. I think myself and a lot of other people would be interested is, where did you come up with She's Awakened? Like, what was really the passion behind it? Okay,
so originally it wasn't called She's Awakened. It was called WAMI, W-A-M-I, Women Advancing Through Motivation and Inspiration. And so the idea behind that was to go into shelters and to put on breakfasts that would empower the women. So we would put on empowerment breakfasts, or actually at that point in time we called them prayer breakfasts, because we wanted to encourage the women that were living in the shelters to let them know that where they were at that present time doesn't mean that that's where they have to be in life, that, you know, there was life after that. Right. And so as time went on, I was actually out sick. I was out sick one day for a whole week. I was out of work for a whole week sick, and then it was back to back for 2 weeks. I was out sick, and it was weird because that never happened. And I just posted about this because strange things happen to me when I'm out sick. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden things start clicking, and I started listening to someone online, and I reached out to her. She's a marketer out of Atlanta, and so we started talking. And she said, "Tell me, what is it that you do?" And I told her how I coach women. You know, how I am the counselor at my job. And she said, "What are some of the things that women say when they're working with you?" And I said, "Wow, I thought about that." And I said, "One of the things that they say is, I never saw it like this before," or, "Wow, you just changed the whole way I thought about this." And so we played with some names, and Awaken is what stuck out to me.
Absolutely.
You know, Awaken, that was just, I don't know, to me it felt like part of that, it felt like a woman that had been asleep and now came alive and became aware of who she was. And so I stuck with that. And so we still continue to put on the breakfast at the shelter. Yes. And we have fun doing that. You know, we go in and we decorate it, make it really pretty. You know how women like, you know, we like stuff nice and pretty, and the plates and napkins have to match and stuff like that.
Shantae, I understand.
Right. We have
my wife, I understand.
We have to make sure it looks a certain way. And when you going to places like that, you don't want them to have to come in and things are dreary and sad looking. No, we're excited to be here. We want you to be excited to be here with us. So we still do that.
Yeah. And why do you think something like She's Awakened is so important to the women in our communities?
Because we go through so much. So there's so much that we go through. There's so many hats as women that we must wear. I mean, just to run down, listen, if your mom is still alive, right? So then you're the daughter, and then you're the mother if you have children, right? And then if you have siblings, you're the sister or you're the aunt, and you may be the one that everybody call on, right? And then don't have a job, or don't be a grandmother, or don't be a great grandmother, then you're the cook and you're the counselor, and you're the coach, you're the motivator, you're the cheerleader, and oh my goodness, then if you have a job, or if it's a CEO position, now you're a leader there, or just the employee. There's so many different hats. And even if you're someone that people love, now not only do your family and friends reach out to you, but people from the community, they reach out to you. And so it's important that as women, we don't lose ourselves in the midst of all of the different things that we go through, because what happens is while we're trying to save everyone else, we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves. We don't stop to deal with the hurt and the pain that's on the inside of us because we're so busy putting out to everyone else. And so that's why this organization is important, because we help women to begin to look within themselves. If we help women to come alive and to recognize who they really are and how, as women, you impact. I think as women, sometimes we forget how important our role really is. Sometimes we're stuck on some of the things that we dealt with in our childhood, and that pain we stay in, and we live in that cycle. Mm-hmm. But I want us as women to begin to identify who we are, and to know that we can heal from that pain and that we have purpose.
Absolutely. There is a lot of conversation. There's a renewed energy currently in our community, and I don't think everyone always notices it. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of wonderful organizations mm-hmm. and leaders and entrepreneurs that are doing great things, not only in the city of Schenectady, but throughout the capital mm-hmm. region as a mm-hmm. whole. And, in conversations when I'm speaking with other leaders and things like that, we're always looking, and I admire so much mm-hmm. people that are constantly, a lot of people are unaware, you have a regular 9-to-5, you have a regular job that mm-hmm. you do, and you still have an organization that you run kind of after hours and on your own time, mm-hmm. that's your passion. I mean, really talk about that, because there's a lot of commitment that comes in with that.
I'm starting to learn to sleep, but that's like,
what is sleep? I don't know what it is.
I'm starting to, but the thing is, it's so important with the name, and this is what I'm saying. Once I changed the name, it's like the whole focus changed, and I was fueled with such energy because now my passion was ignited, and so. Yes, I work a full-time job, and yes, I'm still doing this, and I'm a grandmother, and so, and I still have family and, and friends, but the passion keeps me from being tired. There's times I'm up all night and then got to go to work the next day, and I don't miss a beat, because while you're working on something that you're passionate about, it fuels a fire within you that's just, I don't even know what to compare it to. So, but yes, but it is a lot. But to me, I enjoy it because it's my passion. So I don't really get I don't get burned out. Because not in this, right. Now maybe at the regular job.
Well, no, and that's something. It's great that you mentioned that, because we had the pleasure of working together last year on a project at the Boys and Girls Club, mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, right. And that was really my first time meeting, and working with you. And what I loved about what you did was when you brought your group out, a lot of them were family,
right.
And I think, really talk about that. How important is it for you to not just have an organization or a movement that impacts the community, but something in which you have an opportunity to work with your family and empower them to be a part of it?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that God allowed it to come together that way, because that's how it originally started. I had this idea. They had never heard of it. We don't even do things like that in our family. You know, we were pretty dysfunctional at one point in time.
As we all are.
and so I went to them and said, I think it was my mom first. I said, I have an idea. I want to put on breakfast. Breakfast, we're at the shelter. And so my sister always say, she's about to ask us for our coins. And she was right. And I said, well, this is what I want to do. And we're going to need some money. We got to do this. We have to do that. But when I tell you that we have grown, I believe we have grown closer as a family, and it works, because I think part of it is because we know where we came from. And we want to be able to help other people, because we're no longer where we were, and we want to help bring other people out as well. And then we're all women, and so we get it, right? And so they put their money in, and I know, and a lot of people don't have that privilege to be able to work that well with family, but it works with us. It just does, and I don't know if it's. I don't think it's anything that I've done. I think it's just their heart, and that they identify the need. And I have a sister that a lot of people don't even see her, because when we doing those events, she's the one that was home cooking and preparing that meal, and up in the middle of the night, and then sometimes having to go to work, but up cooking while we did this, while we came out in the front. And then my daughter would come and help, and my niece will come out at night and help us set the place up. But you're right, it's family, and my mom, they just, whatever it is that need to be done, just come in, and money or whatever, didn't matter. My sister just said that the other day. She's about to hit us up for some coins.
Well, no, and that's amazing. And speaking of growth, something I've noticed as of late is
I hate to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
But you mentioned that the Thanksgiving.
Yes.
You have no idea what we went through. You have no idea. So while in the middle of cooking, just the oven shut off. The oven broke. We were able to prepare the meal to bring to you all, but couldn't finish our dinner.
Wow.
But we packed it up and brought it down there. My niece said, "You cooking for the community now? The oven broke." But that's what happened. But you didn't know that, right? And we got there. They didn't have no attitude.
No,
they wasn't. Wasn't nobody fussing about. Now we ain't got no food to eat at our house. Nothing like that. Why? Because we love to serve, and you gave us the opportunity to serve. And then I met someone there that I didn't know, because she came over to talk to me. Come to find out, that was the woman that helped my mother, 18 years ago? 18 years ago, when she came here to get clean from heroin.
Wow.
That woman helped her. And I didn't know her. And she just came over and started talking to me. But I remember the name my mother said. And when she said her name, I asked her, did she know her? And that's how it connected. And it was the picture you caught.
Yeah.
Because you sent the picture.
Standing,
right. It was that woman. It was that woman.
Well, no, and again, that's just one of those things in which you have a wonderful passion and you bring people together. There were so many people and organizations that were a part of that.
Yes.
And I think we ended up feeding like 250 people.
Wow.
And even afterwards, the police officers took the rest of the Thanksgiving dinners and we put them in the containers, and they just went out and delivered them throughout the city.
Wow.
So that was one of those things in which we were able to bring a lot of different people together just to do something great for the community, because I think at the end of the day, that's really what we all want to do. I think we all have a passion. We all have our different ways of doing it.
Right.
But having the ability to really come together and unite organizations and leadership and services, I think it overall benefits the community more.
Right.
And I thank you for you and your family for being a part of that. But what I want to talk about is, like, speaking of growth, I've noticed something. So with this new social media trend, the way stuff is, I see you online doing a lot of videos as of lately. And actually, we had the opportunity of having you at the Cocoa House the other day, doing an impromptu, one of your videos on a Tuesday night, your Trauma Talk Tuesdays.
Right.
I want you to really kind of talk about those a little bit, tell us like where those came from, and what your goal is and what your passion is with the Trauma Talk Tuesdays.
Okay, well, Trauma Talk Tuesday came out of, I'm a firm believer in help. I do. I believe that no person can make it on their own. We need a support system. We do. And so I have a lot of mentors. I have coaches. Some I pay, some I don't, that are in my life that help me. And so this particular time it was a coach helping me just talk. We're talking about one thing. And she said, Julia, I think you ought to get into this. And I'm like, get into what? She said, childhood trauma. And I said, why? And now, mind you, this particular coach, she wants you to give her information from your whole life. So I did that. And she's like, Julia, I'm looking at this stuff and you got some trauma. And I'm like, what? Trauma? I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about this conversation right now. And so that whole weekend, God was sending people. Someone sent me a video with Oprah on CNN talking about childhood trauma. I got that video 3 times from 3 different people. And a woman I didn't speak to for a year, we didn't have issue, but I just hadn't talked to her. She called me and wanted to talk about that. And I said, okay, God, if you want me to do this, then I'll do it. I don't know how comfortable I am with this, because the reality of it is I'm just realizing I had some trauma. Right. And I never forget, and a tear fell down my face, because I'm like, God, if you're asking me to do this is some deep stuff. And so, So I remember saying to her, I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And we talked and hashed it out, and we came up with Trauma Talk Tuesday. And so with Trauma Talk Tuesday, we talk about childhood trauma in various forms, because childhood trauma is vast. I mean, it's so big. I mean, there's so many different areas a child can be traumatized in, but then how it affects adults today when we don't deal with it. And so on Trauma Talk Tuesday, we just talk about the different things. We've talked about sexual abuse. We talk about physical abuse. We talk about emotional abuse. We talk about neglect. And what I do is I have different people come on that are professionals. I have counselors come on and they give tips. I was just sharing with someone today. I said, do you know, one woman said that one of the counselors said that you can chew gum when you're being triggered. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that. Chewing gum could help you in that area. And so the information that we're giving out is very informative. I have people in my inbox. I have people waiting on Tuesday at 7 p.m. to be on that live. And when I send out a message saying like twice I had to cancel, and the response I get back is like, oh man, because they look forward to it. Some people said, Julia, I have the alarm set on my phone so that I don't miss it, because it's causing them to relate and to be able to look at areas of their life that they never even looked at, or never even not only looked at, but didn't even think of. It's like, I'm good. Everything is good. I moved on with my life. Yes, I was neglected, or yes, I was abused, but I'm doing good now. But not looking at how it affected their relationship, right. Or how it affected their parenting, or how it affects their self-esteem. And so this, the Trauma Talk Tuesday, helped them to be able to identify those things. It's like, okay, wait a minute, I do that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things that we're not really sure how important that is, because it's extremely important. A lot of us, and this is something that me and you just, we went through this the other day when, we had the opportunity for you to do the show at the Cocoa House, and afterwards, I think we were outside for like an hour talking, and even in that, just in being able to speak about address some of my own trauma and some of the things that I've gone through. So to be comfortable in that space, I think a lot of time, like you said, it's one of those things in which, we become an adult and we've become so good at wearing the mask, right. or putting on and acting as if, I've moved past certain right. things, and then we never see how it really plays out in relationships, or right. in friendships, or in business opportunities, how those things play out. So like really talk about like, I think how important it really is to address those things, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to see and hear these things. And, with us, we're really good at, I hear it, it sounds great, right. but really digging deep and addressing those things, because I think you have a really good understanding of that.
I think you said how important it is. It is huge. It is, it is so important because you think you're okay because it's over. I'm no longer in it. And so I'm just going to go to school. I'm going to get my degree, or I'm just going to, whatever it is, I'm just going to go to work, and take care of my family. But then we do it and we keep hitting these roadblocks. We have these patterns of dysfunction that just doesn't make any sense. And it hinders us. I mean, it is so important. And you brought out a point when you said about in business, if you suffered something in your childhood that causes you not to trust, now you say maybe you're in business or you're an entrepreneur and you want to connect, but now you don't trust no one. And so how can you grow your business if you can't trust anyone?
Right.
And it's not the people around you, it's you. And so it's huge. It is so important. Sometimes I wish I could just open people up and just put this in everybody that I meet, because it is so important that we get to the root of that pain. It affects our relationships. There are people that are married and are having all of these different issues and don't understand that the issues is because of the unresolved issue that they have within, and not the spouse. It's not the husband, it's not the wife, it's the stuff that you have within you that is affecting the relationship. Because if you have a need where you just want to be accepted, or say you have a need where, this is a great one, where you were rejected, and your mom left or your dad left you and you were rejected, you felt abandoned, and now you're in a relationship, and I had a client tell me this, and the woman got up and left, went into the other room. That's all she did was go into the other room. He was upset. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to me. He said, I think I gotta leave. I think she don't want me no more. And I said, okay, talk to me. What happened? And he said, we were sitting down watching TV, and then she got up and went in the other room. And I said, and what else did she do? And he said, well, that was it. And I said, and why does that make you feel like you gotta leave her now? He said, because she don't want me. Why would she do that? I said, let's look at where this is coming from. And he was abandoned by his mom. And so we looked at that, and when he sat there, he looked at me, he was like, Julia, I never even put the two and two together. Mm-hmm. And so those things are important, because sometimes we feel like our spouse or the people we're in business with, or our friends or our family, they're doing certain things, and sometimes it could be the boss, and it's not really them. It's not them you doing something. It's you, and whatever they did is triggering that emotion within you because it was painful and you never dealt with it, and it's causing you to feel a certain way. But it's not them. It's something that's within you, and that's why it is so important, because it's affecting our relationships. It's affecting our health. It's affecting our finances, and because we get so used to this dysfunction and this need to having to be important, right? And so now we going out and we're spending money because we need to feel a certain way. Absolutely. And that's and because we need to be validated, because as a child we never felt validated, and so we do those things, and it's important.
Yeah, and after our conversation, I was asked a couple weeks ago by a gentleman, Kareem Toure, who was an author. He asked me to host. He's putting together this Black Male Depression Forum. Mm-hmm. That's going to be at the library October 13th. And originally when he had begun and he spoke with me about it, we had a real basic concept of what we were going to do, and I was okay with that. Mm-hmm. But after my conversation with you, and looking at some of my own stuff, I went back and I started to really do some research. Mm-hmm. And I started to, I came up with the concept of like tracking your trauma. Mm-hmm. How something affects you as a child, and you see it in your actions as an adult. And I met with him yesterday and just showed him some of the information that I came up with, some of the concepts, some of the statistics, just some of the research. And he says, no, this is it. Right. This is the direction. And he says, I don't know what happened after our last conversation. He says, but this right here, he says, this is really it. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not enough to sit in a room and conversate about the surface level. You have to really be able to dig in deep and be comfortable with sharing those traumatic experiences and finding solutions and understanding and really even accepting responsibility and accountability within yourself
Right.
for what you caused.
Right.
And a lot of times that's one of the hardest things, because it's very easy for us to be like, well, you did this, or that person did that, or, well, you know, to judge somebody else based on something that they don't know. Because I think one of the hardest things for people to do is when somebody judges the action of someone else, they never take the opportunity to ask themselves, well, what's going on?
Right.
And I
Right.
think that's something that you have really gotten down to a science, that digging deep, where I'm not going to judge somebody based on what I see them doing. Let me see what's really going on.
Right.
And I think that is extremely important. Yes, that is also a plug. Make sure you come out October 13th to the Black Male Depression Forum, hosted by myself and the brother Kareem Toure at the Branch Library. So as we're getting ready to close out, I do have a question. So I know you're getting ready to do an event in October.
Yes.
Right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so on October 20th, we're hosting an event called Breaking the Silence, the Trauma, the Trigger, and the Transformation. And so that event is, to me, it's going to be epic. It's going to be epic. Because one thing is, so we have a young lady, her name is Princess Good. She's going to be speaking, and she's from Urban Grief in Albany, out of Albany.
Yes.
She's going to be speaking, and she's going to share her experience being raised in a home where there was violence and how she became the aggressor. Now you're going to see this little woman, and I mean, she's tiny, but she became the aggressor. So that's going to show us the childhood trauma. We have Sloan Brown. Well, you didn't ask me who was going to be there, but we have Sloan Brown that's going to be there, and I'm going to be there. But anyway, the event,
make sure you're there. That's the real thing. Make sure you're there.
Make sure you're there. And we're going to talk about how childhood trauma affects you as a child, even though you don't see it. We're going to talk about how to transform your life. That Sloan Brown is going to tell her story about her bout with domestic violence and how she transformed. So you're going to receive information. You're going to receive tips on how to rebuild your life after coming out. We're going to talk about some of the triggers, and because maybe now you're in a relationship and you're in this relationship and it's triggering you, and you don't know that that's what's happening, and you're blaming him for something he did. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to explore all of that at this event.
Yes. So as you heard, make sure you turn into Trauma Talk Tuesdays with Julia J. Banks, founder of She's Awakened, not awakened or awakening, Awaken. Constant sense of evolution. Also October 20th for her event. It's going to be epic, so everybody's going to be there. Make sure you're there. Closing out, what's one message you would have for the women in the community?
Oh, wow. You have the power to do whatever it is you want to do.
And with that, we thank Julia J. Banks, founder of She's Awakened. My name is William Rivas. I'm the founder of #SaveOurStreets. Thank you for tuning in to Save Our Streets TV. We'll see you next week. Thank you.